Thank you. Thank you. Wow, boy. Sounds like actually a big crowd. Well, hi. I'm Bill Maher, and this is Politically Incorrect, the show that predicts big sales for the new book, Women Who Love Too Much and Where to Find Them. Now, today my guests are Jerry Seinfeld, Larry Miller, Curtis Sliwa, and Dr. Wilbert, Bill Tatum. And we're going to be talking about cities. Does anybody really live there anymore? The other day I saw on the news a cop chasing a crook, and they were both leaving. And we're going to be talking about policemen. It's always the same, isn't it? They're never around when you need one, but the second you stab someone in the throat. And we're going to be talking about pornographic TV channels. They don't educate us, they don't enlighten us, and they don't come in clear enough where I live. Plus, as always, comedian Bill Sheft. And remember, all the material you'll see on this show has been, as always, satirized for your protection. You heard America causes cancer by communists. Since Vietnam, we only fight the easy part. Everybody up to that. Politics, the show business, Clinton's just Reagan without the stand. All the women in the world
sexual marriage.
Like sex.
I have a dream.
Well, welcome to the show. We have a very special edition of Politically Incorrect today. First of all, we have the man who's inspired 10,000 idiots to quit their day jobs because he makes it look that easy. NBC's Big Cheese, Jerry Seinfeld. Yay! And over here, a guy who, when it comes to stand-up comedy, is state-of-the-art. Also a great actor you've seen in movies like Pretty Woman and the upcoming Undercover Blues, Larry Miller.
Yay!
Go, Larry. Also, we got the editor of the Amsterdam News, Dr. Wilbert, Bill Tatum. Welcome, Bill. And finally, the co-founder of the crime-fighting Guardian Angels, of course, Mr. Curtis Sliwa. All right. Let's get right to the issues. Gentlemen, start your egos. In Kafka's Metamorphosis, a man awakes one day to find that he's suddenly turned into a cockroach. Everywhere in the world, this is a fantasy. Here in New York, it's a documentary. And yet it's generally agreed in scientific circles that the cockroach, as surely as Sherman took Atlanta, will one day inherit the cities as their own. And now many are saying, why put that day off? Maybe Gerald Ford was prophetic when he told New York to drop dead, because nowadays, with fax machines, computer networks, picture phones, teleconferencing, overnight mail, the question comes, why do we need cities at all? Why drag the river of societal decay for the dead body of urban civilization that has long since drifted out to sea and, of course, washed up in New Jersey? Aren't cities obsolete? Now, Jerry, you're a big New York lover. What do you think about that?
First of all, who is writing this stuff? This is unbelievable. Really, absolutely rococo in the ornate, the Phillips and the really beautifully written. Anyway, whoever did it. Are cities obsolete? No. No, Bill, because the country will always be boring. Because cows are boring, because grass is boring, and farming is dull, Bill. It's dreadfully dull.
I mean, there's got to be...
It will always be dull. No matter how many fax machines you have at the barn, you got to go out.
Yeah, but there's something between a farm and a city, isn't there?
The suburbs, Bill.
Yeah. But, I mean, don't towns dry up? You know, like in the Old West.
No, they renew themselves. Not unlike
Or they dry up. Look, I mean, in the old days, a riverboat. You know, there were riverboat towns, and they were riverboat, and then they were replaced by train towns, and then they're replaced by plane towns.
But they were always replaced by towns, don't you see? There's always towns.
Excuse me, Bill. I just want to say that I have never heard such a load of claptrap in my life. Where you get the nerve to open your mouth. I just wanted to say that at one point. Frankly, I agree with Jerry. I don't think anything is ever going to be obsolete about a city. You know, when TV first came forward, they said it's going to kill movies. But that ultimately becomes wrong because people will always want to go out in public to a theater, that special experience, see the lights go down. You can have conferences by fax,
I think
but,
TV
you know,
killed radio, Larry.
you know, something.
What do we need?
You know,
Careers? Let's go.
come here like a gentleman.
Yeah. No, it won't, because in the same way that when the T-shirt came along, it didn't kill the tie.
Well,
Did for him, by the way.
That's a very glib answer, but the truth is, I mean, you talk about New York City. I mean, isn't New York basically a tale of two cities? I mean, it's fine. I mean,
Well put.
Thank you. I mean, it's yes, it's thriving for the Upper West Side quiche-eating, yuppie, social climbing, never miss Seinfeld crowd.
Well, who else is
But
there?
what about the crack dealer that Mr. Curtis Sliwa has to deal with out in Williamsburg, Brooklyn? Those cities are dying on the vine. Why are we pouring money?
There's nothing that a good colonic wouldn't cure for the cities of America.
Here.
Right? Except you need the tidy bowl man coming in with an AK-47 assault rifle. I mean, look at all the people. They come in. Think about it. They come in on their little dinghies.
Tony Danza.
No, I mean, think about it. They come in on their little dinghies, right, and their rubber rafts singing "Row, row, row your boat." They make their money, then they leave on their pleasure crafts and their cruise ships out to suburban America, where guys like Jerry and yourself wear those polyester waffle weave flame retardant pants and raise families and live the all-American dream. But it all starts in the cities.
Easy.
Is this?
So
Breathe in, breathe out.
You're
So
getting
the T-shirt and the dress pants, that's the way it's going to be, huh?
New style.
All right.
As long as it's bulletproof, you'll survive.
By the way, at
the
one
sun.
point or another, after the lightning bolt hit, he used to wear the T-shirts under the shirts like everyone else. Then at 11 years old, the lightning came down, and suddenly he was wearing underwear on his head, you know, and T-shirts on the outside, and shoes on gloves, you know.
Larry, you're speaking foolishly. Now, Doc, do you have something to say about this?
I'm in a state of cultural shock.
And that is the exact question, my friend. Cultural shock. Don't take your glasses off to me.
It was represented that the fact that I had a doctorate would be important on the show. Now, all I can gather is that Kafka must have written this cockamamie script.
Cockroachamamie.
Cockroachamamie. I'm sorry, I'm corrected. But let me tell you something. I grew up on a tobacco farm. I lived in a town. I moved to a city. And every time I moved to another city. I am never going back. A city is where real life is practiced. And I want to practice life.
Doc, it's not a political rally here. Okay, fine.
Is the caller there?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Talk about throwing pebbles at God's window. All right, well, look. The whole country loves to hate New York. What's the best thing about New York that non-New Yorkers don't realize? Just to button this up quickly, what would you say there, Jerry?
The subways.
The subways. Oh, yeah, the
smell
BL
of the
capital of the
subway.
world.
Yes.
Boy, half the time you get in a cab, you got to get right back out. What do you think?
Buying shoes at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Which is something you have a need to do?
Everybody needs to buy a pair of shoes at 2 o'clock in the
And
morning.
sometimes people need to buy socks, right, Jerry?
That's right, Bill.
Jerry,
Why do they give you those 2 o'clock in the morning sock hangers? Larry, what do you think is the best thing? What do you love about this town?
I would like to go shopping with him, frankly. I have never needed shoes at 2 in the morning, but I'm counting on it. I just like, frankly, the late hours. You want to get a beer at 2 in the morning after you buy shoes. You want to celebrate. You want to celebrate and have a beer after with your new shoes on.
You better
can
have
do
the
that.
beers, and then you start thinking, I need shoes.
That's right.
You know?
After 10 or 12 beers, by the way, you realize your shoes look pretty good anyway.
And Curtis, you would, of course,
the
say
best-
the crime and degradation?
No, best thing about this city is growing up as a kid, you get to play street games like they have nowhere, you know, kick the can in the rest of the country, people playing. So here you play Johnny on the Pony, and nobody calls you homophobic if you don't want to play that. Then you play buck and stickball and Chinese handball and stoop ball.
If you're playing Johnny and the Pony and Buck, you better not be homophobic. Well, coming up next, we have pornography, the only form of entertainment that makes blood go to a different part of your body. All right, and welcome back to American Gladiators. Well, feminists have long argued that pornography objectifies and dehumanizes women, and in so doing makes violence against them easier to commit. Men, however, know this is a crock. On the contrary, pornography acts as a release valve on the overinflated balloon of male sexual tension by pulling tidal waves of angry life force from millions of men each day that would otherwise be targeted for unwilling receptacles. In other words, every stroke book stops a rape. Anybody got a problem with that?
Again, who is writing this stuff? This is unbelievable.
Who do you think, Jerry?
Overinflated balloons?
You are just gorgeous.
I have no problem. Next issue.
That's right.
Now, we do have a stag panel, which makes this somewhat of a loaded, no pun intended, issue.
Come on,
but,
Bill.
You know what? First of all, I don't think it's either a plus or a minus on that. There's a great need every time somebody gets arrested for something for somebody to say, well, they found a Playboy there too. That means it causes something. It's always that theory to me that, you know, you want to put somebody down. It's always that if it's an underwear company, they always say, you know, the Nazis wore underwear too. Oh, now underwear is bad. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a plus or a minus. I think it'll always be there. I was frankly just interested that, and I took this, I read your background stuff, by the way, when they sent it to me. This is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, first time in this country.
Larry, if I wanted props, I would have booked Gallagher.
You can go to, you know what, can I be honest? That's better than what I had.
Curtis, what do you think about this? You're out there fighting crime. You see this, Lee. You see it on the street. You see it on the front.
Well, we see out there the weenie wavers, right? You know, the chest of the molesters there, and we're not
using
talking
technical crime fighting terms.
Right. We're not talking Oscar Mayer, you know, big
Okay,
and juicy ones.
we
I mean,
definitely get the
You know what?
picture.
I think we've got the image.
and
Clear for you? You're
Yes.
done on that?
I want to
got
tell you, I think when, you know, your kid porno going through all that pornography, whatever your choice, that it puts a 3-alarm fire down in your trousers. And they don't have enough saltpeter in your Wheaties in the morning to calm it down.
Are you sure you've never read a Raymond Chandler book?
I amend that. I think I changed
Insist
my...
you've never read a Raymond Chandler book.
Absolutely not.
Well, that's just a
My
surprise
answer
to
now-
me.
Although, I tell you what,
Yes?
guys need to understand they need to keep that rocket in their pocket,
I
and
see.
they won't have
Yeah.
a problem.
Okay, but I'm saying that, don't you think...
And then there won't be a problem.
the best thing
Oh,
about
there's
New
a
York...
problem.
Dr. Tatum, you have a doctorate, don't you?
Not anymore. I'm
Let me-
I'm sitting here dealing with a sexually immature panel.
No. Sir, let me put it to you. All right, let me correct this for you. Let me bring you into this.
Because I'm going to explain it to you what sex is all about.
Let me put the question again. Now, I think the fundamental difference between men and women is that women can get sex anytime they want, and men can't. And that's why men need pornography. If women were prepared to give it up all the time, we wouldn't need this. But as it is, a man goes out, he tries to find a woman, 9 times out of 10 he strikes out. There's always Miss November. She never has a headache. And that is what allows for a lot of men to release their tension, and I think this stops violence and crime against women.
You think they're going to allow this show to go in the air in America?
So in other words, you think the average man is looking at a magazine or a woman walking by saying, either I buy this or I bop her over the head.
Yeah,
And that's his choice.
I think it.
That's scientific. That's definitely scientific.
See?
That's definitely.
There's not enough. I mean, there's 5 billion people on the planet. They're not all matched up evenly. There's not 2.5 billion with men and 2.5 with women. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, because you're hogging a lot of the women, Jerry, quite frankly. So it's not an even thing. You've got half of them for yourself.
Yeah,
I noticed
So
that.
people don't
Yeah.
have sexual partners. They need a release.
Well,
It's
now
like
I
a
understand.
man. It's like
Now I
milking a
understand.
cow.
Yeah, but you know what,
I
though?
do understand now.
You know what, something?
You do, and would you
absolutely.
agree?
Yes, I agree with everything.
You know what, though? By the way, that's a wise move as a rule, but you know what? I do disagree because I think that it's ultimately people who have to be responsible that if a guy rapes someone, he's a bad guy. It doesn't mean that because I read the Playboy party jokes that suddenly I'm going to be a bad
Larry,
guy.
if there was no such thing as masturbation,
you know something? No, I'm forgetting.
seriously, if there was no such thing as masturbation, I mean, rape would be a lot
so
more. It
happens-
would be our salutation.
Shows you how little you know. There is no such thing as masturbation. All right?
Jerry, you're master of your own domain.
Yes. Well, if there was no such thing,
You're famous for this now.
if there was no such thing as masturbation, most men would never know that anything could happen.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. All right, well, I guess that buttons that up, so to speak. When we come back, cops. They deserve our respect.
What did you
because
say?
they're- I said cops.
Okay.
They deserve our respect
I thought that's what you said.
because they're fearless, they're untiring, and they're allowed to shoot us. All right, welcome back to Norm Crosby's Comedy Shop. Now, remember when Los Angeles girded itself before the second Rodney King verdict by putting more cops on the street? Guess what? For the first time in years, nobody got murdered. Crime went down. The same thing happened during the '84 Olympics, or any time the president comes to town, or even more secure, Sinatra. and if Frank Sinatra and the president come to town at the same time, not only does the city get safer, but the hookers get way better looking. I don't know if that's for the president or Sinatra, but I never bet against Frank. The goal of a democracy is to have each of its citizens treated like Frank Sinatra. I think that's plain. And if more cops around make things work better, what's so bad about a little bit of a police state?
Police state?
Police state?
Curtis, you're a guy who'd be, you're a guy who'd
It's like
be...
I got the scarlet letter, the big V here for vigilante, you know, Bronson and
But,
Death
I mean,
Wish.
you're a guy who'd be out of work if the police did their job. What do you think about that?
Oh, first thing,
It's true. There, true, from the
It's
top.
true.
first thing we got
Plus,
to
with
do.
the money you'd get, you could get some real nice outfits.
No, that's fashion.
That's fashion.
That's fashion. All over the world, they are copying this uniform.
That's right.
Yes, for cheap.
I mean, just think when you're
I know
having
the
your
berets
slight.
caught on in France.
And on Hogan's Hero. That's
But with police, the
Yes.
first thing we got to do is market this properly, because this is being a capitalistic society. On the East Coast, we've got to set up more Dunkin' Donuts, and we've got to set up more Winchells on the West Coast. Because
You've been hanging around with Jerry too much.
I am
Come on,
serious.
give us a serious
no, I am
answer
serious.
about
That's
this.
part of the problem, is that the apathy and indifference has come home so hard that we see so many of our cops who are waiting for the fresh buttermilk twist to come out of the oven.
I know,
so
but-
people feel they're not
But
being protected.
When there are cops on the street, Larry, you know your Shakespeare. Shakespeare said, "How oft the sight of means to do ill deeds makes ill deeds done."
Yeah, by the way, he also said, do I get fries with this?
But it's true. When people have the opportunity, like during the LA riots, I mean, those people weren't career criminals. There was like, you know, there was no cops on the street. TV was showing that there were no cops. It was like a home shopping network for people who wanted to go out there, and they did it.
but-
And yet, when there are cops on the street, or I'll take another example, John Gotti's neighborhood, nobody ever gets mugged there. Or there are bag ladies in New York who carry, they're old ladies and they carry $60,000 in a paper bag and nobody ever bothers them.
I know you're
'cause
not
they
from
know,
New York.
Because they know they'd get,
I know
the
you're not
repercussions would be there.
Public enemy #1, John Gotti, is responsible for all the crime. I mean,
No, I'm just saying in his neighborhood. I'm not defending Gotti.
But that's part of the problem, this whole myth about police. We saw the Rodney King situation in which they gave him a therapeutic back massage. They had him sucking concrete for the whole world to see. And we immediately think that that's what every one of our men and women in blue uniforms do. They've been forced to back off because they've been branded urban terrorists in blue uniforms with a badge, a stick, and a gun. And we, the people, are left out there with bars on our windows, locks on our doors, and we've had to turn Fifi, the French poodle friend of men and women, into King, the pit bull terrier killer of men and women, to protect the few valuable possessions that we have. That's the dilemma. The cops feel like they've been chained and shackled. We don't trust them. They're going to use too much force. And now we're going to leave it up to you, Joe Sixpack, with your long-barreled six-shooter, to defend your family,
Who
your
exactly are you
community, and
calling
America.
Joe Sixpack? Because if it's him, you're way off base, and you're way off base with him too.
It fits the image, though, of an American that we feel now is left to their own means to defend themselves.
Curtis, shall I make my day now?
Sure.
You know, you guys are giving cops credit for things that cops really aren't due credit for. Remember Upsale in New York?
What?
Upsale.
Sure.
Remember Upsale too. Remember this last weekend in New York City where 12,000 sailors were on the street.
Yeah.
There was no crime.
I think we should
When
combine.
people are in the streets, when people are in the streets,
Yes.
when people say, this is my turf, I'm going out in it. I'm going out at 12, 1, 2, 3, and you see a neighbor. Nobody bothers you.
So these are also people buying shoes too at
Yes.
12. I just wanted to make
Very
sure
quickly,
that-
what were you saying?
groceries later.
We should combine.
I
what?
thought we should combine cop and garbage men into one job. Because you often see people, cops walking down the street, they don't have anything to do. Grab a broom. Start sweeping.
And
You can't-
literally clean up the city.
That's
Is that
right.
what you're saying? All right, well,
Bill, with the
unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'd like to thank my guests, Jerry Seinfeld, Larry Miller, Curtis Sliwa, and Dr. Wilbert, Bill Tatum. I'll be right back with Bill Sheff. Welcome back. As always, say hello to Bill Sheff.
Thank you so much.
Bill Sheff,
Thank you
top
so much.
comedian, writer for the David Letterman Show. And let's get right to it, Bill. We play Cleaning in Our Notebooks, what we used to do at Catch a Rising Star. We were starting out where we actually try out actual comedy material on each other's. Is it my turn to
It's
go
your
first?
turn.
All right, Bill. Did you hear that they have discovered ice on the planet Venus? No. Yes, scientists are already theorizing that there may have existed on the planet at some previous time a primitive form of room service. So,
Bill, I have got to get a new dentist.
you do?
Absolutely. Well, the guy I go to now, the only thing he ever says to me is, "You call that a scream?"
Bill, I think I know why Dan Quayle is looking so happy these days.
Really?
I would just hate to be the one to tell him that there is no such thing as ambassador to Hawaii.
Bill, Sylvester Stallone's new movie, Cliffhanger, is in all the theaters now, and I'm so glad they didn't go with the original title, Rocky Ledge.
Well, I wish we had more time. It was a very short version of Cleaning Out Our Notebooks, but that's all the time we have. Thank you again on Politically Incorrect, and we'll see you next time.